What is the sluttiest thing you've ever done? I fingered a girl at a Jay-Z Kanye West concert. Some arsehole kept staring. Had a D-sucking contest with a friend of mine to see who could get the respective random dude off faster. Stood up with a mouthful of jizz. AMD a grin in 2-minute flit. Yep. Edit I am female. Reasonably attractive. Also my mirror tells me the contest was performed in front of everyone so there could be no cheating. And both men had at least been laid that day once. Now, it's not like we were overly concerned about the proper scientific way of running this. Since, well, we were drunk. I had 6 for Cinnamon Toast Crunch. A couple years ago I was on a trip to Chicago. Ended up staying at one of those older hotels in the downtown area. I was visiting potential law schools and decided to stay for a few days to catch in some sights. It wasn't the nicest hotel since I was still a student and not able to afford something nicer for 5 days, but it did offer a continental breakfast, which turned out to be completely terrible. The only thing I ate during breakfast for the first 2 days was cereal, and they happened to have Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Aka. Cinnamon holy it, I love this it. I must have had a dozen boxes in the first 3 days. I packed my backpack with it and ate a box while visiting the Sears Tower. Duck bagels. The Sun Crunch was where it was at. So over the course of those few days, I couldn't help but get to know the hotel staff members. I was traveling alone and I didn't know anyone in town. So friendly conversations were welcomed. One of the girls that worked on the kitchen staff noticed my penchants for the cinnacrack and joked that I had an addiction. Ducking right. 2. She was in her early 20s. My age. Seemed cute. And a little flirty. I didn't mind the attention. But then on the 5th and final day, I went to the lobby for my normal bowl of sweet and cinnamon goodness. Everything fell apart. The cereal boxes were gone. All that were left were what looked to be week-old croissants. Crestfallen I turned to go back to my room when I heard a whisper. MR. Alpha Editor, I think I may have something you're looking for. There was Mrs. Staff member beckoning me from a doorway labeled for employees only. Curious. I approached her, thinking she was joking, hiding my orgasm crunch from me. When I got to the door she ushered me inside the room. It had a bed, dresser, no window, and barely separated restroom area. I later found out that this was an overflow room for emergencies when a spare guest room was absolutely needed. She was very businesslike in her proposition. If we have a 6, I get the goods. She then pulled out a large cardboard box filled with about 50 Cinnamon Toast Crunch boxes inside. I looked at her as if she had to be joking. She wasn't. I ate like a king for weeks. TLDR. I'm a cereal whore. Edit. Grammar and cinnamon. Mom and daughter. Different times during the same day. Boom. Edit. So, my mom has a friend. Her name is Barbara. Nicknamed Barbie. They went to high school together and she used to come to visit quite a bit. I knew she had kids, but every time she'd come to visit they would be with their dad. With Reddit's power of deductive reasoning, you can guess that Barbie and her now ex-husband, Ken, kidding I think his name was Jim or something like that, were divorced. I never really thought much of my mom's boring friend Barbie until I got slapped in the face by a whole metric ton of hormones. Wherein funny places and boners that would appear at the drop of a math problem. Then it happened. Barbie was ducking hot. Not just hot, but big fake tits. Vanna White hot. Jacking off to Victoria's Secret catalog hot. You get the idea. Fast forward to the summer of my senior year in high school. I was lean, playing football, enjoying life, pronounced, drinking beer. I'm home and who should show up? Barbie. She drove a blue SUV. And as I saw it pull down the driveway, I instantly turned into a monster. Something was odd about this time though. She had extra people in the car. Barbie gets out. Then I see Stephanie. Stephanie was gorgeous. Holy it. Brunette. Athletic. Blue eyes that would melt your heart. She gets out wearing short cheer shorts and a tight blue tank top with her school. Best part is, it's a high school junior class shirt. I probably looked calm on the outside, but I was a wreck on the inside. Poker face gents. Poker face. I give Barbie the biggest I just had a boner hug and then I meet her lovely daughter. I smiled at her, and she smiled back. We didn't say much, because we were both social jackasses. Looking back on it, It was obvious what we were both thinking. They settle in. Dinner with the parents. Yada yada yada. I go to bed treating my body like it's an amusement park. The next morning, I get up forgetting that we have company. My mom and Barbie had gone down to have lunch with some old high school friends and do some other stuff that ladies do, I guess. Boxers and nothing else apparently was the choice of attire for the previous evening. I get up, start to make breakfast, and as I hear footsteps I realize Barbie and her daughter are here. That soon fades into, oh yeah, Barbie and her daughter are here. I've got all Adidas type muscularity going on at the present time in the year thanks to my football training. Might as well use and abuse the opportunity, am I right? Stephanie comes upstairs, looking incredible with no makeup on. I realize we are all alone in the house and she asks me how I am. I tell her I slept well. Hopefully she did as well. She says she was restless because she has a hard time sleeping in new rooms. I jokingly offer, in a moment of pure ducking genius, something to the effect of, oh, my bed is really comfy. He says, oh yeah? Let's go see it. I don't think I could wrap my brain around the idea of what was going to happen. We go down to my room, it was in the basement, and she pounces me, attacks, just jumped me. Before I knew it, I'm on my back with my dingling out, and she slid right on top. About 3 minutes later, she was my fourth ever, and I was ducking nervous. We finished up, and took a quick nap. Later in the day, Steph went for a run and I walk outside to take care of some yard work my dad wanted done a couple days ago. Barbie is sunbathing, lying prone on our deck by our pool, top undone. She sees me, she says hi, we chit chat a bit, and I start to mow the lawn, literally, not figuratively. Middle of July, so you can bet the shirt is coming off, regardless of who is around. It's hot as it where I grew up, especially in July. Later, and yes, I know this sounds crazy, I'm in the shower before going to meet some buddies to drink beer in some asparagus field, our favorite pastime. I'm showering and I don't even notice the curtain open up. The nice bathroom in the house was a walk-in with a curtain. Pretty sweet shower if you ask me. All of a sudden, Barbie is in there with me, bikini bottom still on. Without a word, she goes down on me. Things progress from there, and before I know it she's butt naked with me behind her doing things married people should be doing. So, in a nutshell, that's how it happened. TL. Dear Penthouse Forum. I had an awesome weekend in high school. This isn't so much slutty as it is shameless. I was having sex with my ex-GF in her parents' basement. Her grandmother was in town and decided she needed to use the basement bathroom at 3:30 in the morning for some reason. She walks downstairs to see her granddaughter getting her cervix punched by the head of my doggy style, by the nice blonde pale boy she had just eaten dinner with earlier. My ex didn't notice Gram on account of her facing the other way moaning into a pillow. Her grandma stood there stunned waiting for a reaction, so I shrugged with one arm and mouthed sorry, but I didn't stop because I didn't want my GF to know. Next morning her grandma acts like it didn't happen and my ex was none the wiser. Raises meat horn in gratitude to Odin. Once I got naked on stage at a strip club and had a stripper sit on my face. Didn't even get herpes. Edit. I did not get pink eye or any other STDs from this incident. Also, I am a girl. Hooked up with 3 chicks one Halloween night. Dressed as an Oompa Loompa. I feel like Reddit could get a nice Oompa song going here. Oompa Loompa, macking on you. Every male Redditor right now. One time I asked out a girl to lunch before I asked her out to coffee. I smiled at a waitress and she gave me more food for free. I'll see myself out. When I was 16 years old, my 3 friends and I drove 2 hours to crash a church purity retreat so that we could party with these girls that one of my compatriots had met through MySpace. They snuck us in after curfew, under the noses of the pastors and disapproving nuns. Why nuns? I don't know. But trust me, there were nuns. There are 8 of us in total. 4 of them and 4 of us. We share a handle of lad and regale each other, in hushed whispers, with the trials and tribulations of our teenage lives. Jokes are made, good times are had and hormones are coursing heavily through every vein. I notice that one girl, a demure redhead with a possible cock eye, has been giving me the 6 eye all night. She is not what we would call attractive by conventional means, but she laughs at my stories, and at that moment, I find that alluring. I am full of rot gut vodka and am feeling particularly affectionate. So she leads me back to her room where we begin to make out post haste. Things quickly accelerate. Within 10 minutes her sweatshirt is on the floor and there are boobs in my hand. In her handies. Well, the obvious, it's my D. She proceeds to give me the roughest, crab-clawed handy that I have ever received in my life. She just tore into it, jerking around like she was trying to sand a deck. There was no lubrication involved and within minutes I could almost feel a blister forming. I gently grabbed her hand to indicate that she was not going about this procedure correctly, and she instantly teared up. It was her first time, and she was humiliated. In a heartfelt monologue, I inform her that it's nothing to be ashamed of. Uplifted, she asks if I would perhaps enjoy some oral favors. I would. You can't blame a lad for hoping. Unfortunately, this proceeds to be equally awful. Teeth were involved more than they should have been. Finally, I just arch my back and pretend to release my manly essence into the back of her throat. She freaks out, then pauses and says she hardly felt anything. I tell her that yeah, I hear that it feels like that. We cuddle. Real gentleman cuddles after expulsion, genuine or otherwise. I then notice a picture of a dove and a cross hanging on her TV. I ask her why this particular adornment is there. There was no such hanging in her friend's room. Oh, that's because the 14 and unders aren't allowed to watch television. Oh my. I ponder the implications of this poorly conceived age divider for a few moments before fatigue and the comfort of a warm body beside me drive me to sleep. 3 hours later, my friend wakes me up and tells me that we need to leave. Immediately, I throw on my clothes and we run into the hallway. The kids are already coming out of their rooms. Adults are up. We do not belong and we are incredibly obvious. Looks are being exchanged. Knowing that the jig is up, we throw caution to the wind and run as fast as our legs will carry us. Out of the lobby, past the visibly annoyed pastor and into the car, where we peel out and drive as if we just robbed a bank. Everyone laughs at the fun we all had the previous evening. Then everyone laughs at me, because I got way too drunk and ruined a pure 14-year-old with a cock eye. To this day it remains the sluttiest and most awkward sexual experience I've had. TLDR. I crashed a church camp in a hotel when I was 16. Got an ugly 14-year-old drunk and became the test subject for her first encounter with a D. Then got found out and ran like a coward out of the hotel the next morning. Edit. My god. The upvotes. They feel like running through a field of flowers on a summer day. Thank you everyone. I had to do a double take there. I read that as I blew my boyfriend behind his work in broad daylight when he was 10. Till no one on Reddit is a slut. Had sex with my girlfriend next to my best friend in the same bed. He slapped my ass while I was mid-thrust. I was on my way to being drunk at the bar when a cute girl started giving me the eye. We started dancing and eventually started making out on the dance floor. First time that had ever happened. We made our way out to my car where we continued to make out. As we are about to leave, her friends come out and drag her away. Now, I had just been kissing her ear and apparently her earring had come off right as her friends were, literally, dragging her away. I didn't notice it at first, and she was gone so quick that I couldn't give it back to her. I just put it in my change tray and forgot about it. Fast forward to about 2 months later, I pull up to a comedy club and as I am parking, she walks by. I don't know how I managed to recognize her, and I certainly didn't know her name. But I remembered that I had her earring in my change tray still. I ran up to her and said excuse me, and she said yes, and looked at me as if she obviously didn't recognize me. I said I think this is your earring and she said OMG where did you find that? I said in my mouth and we just stared at each other blankly for a few moments. She nodded and looked at the ground while sticking out her hand. I gave it back silently and walked the other direction. Control F. Girlfriend's username. Phew. Throwaway here. I had a friend named K who had 2 sisters, R and S. R went through a bad breakup, so K thought she should set us up. Things went pretty good and the 2 of us started seeing each other on a regular basis. After about a month, we started sleeping together, and things went fine, until a few weeks later, We were in bed and she was acting unusual. I asked her what was wrong and she admitted that the day before, she slept with her ex-boyfriend. I was upset, so I went to talk to Kay. I walked over to her house, but S answered the door, saying that Kay was out. I was noticeably upset, so she invited me in. I told her about what happened, and she started to rub my shoulder, trying to make me feel better. We ended up kissing, and then things continued to escalate. We went into her room and had sex. TL. Dr. Two Sisters, same day. Warning. This comment will ruin your enjoyment of this thread. The people in these stories are only 30% as attractive as you are imagining them. Spoiler. In high school I went to my GF's house. She was there with 4 of her friends, one being her gay friend. The girls all agreed that if I let him duck me in the ass, I could duck all the girls. Let me just say I got to nail all the girls that night. PS. That arsehole went for 45 minutes on my ass. I had a girl that I used to hook up with come over one day to have a sex, while also making plans for another girl that I had previously dated and was sort of talking to again to come over later in the evening. Had really good sex with the first girl, but I just couldn't get off, no matter what I tried. How good it felt. It wasn't happening for me. She was a little bummed, but I told her it was cool, and she left. I had planned on cleaning up the house a little, washing the sheets, and showering before the other girl came over. Realized that I took so long trying to get off that I had maybe 15 minutes before the other girl would be getting here. Threw the sheets in the wash. Didn't worry about cleaning, but I realized I was still going to smell like sex. If I let her go down on me, I was still going to taste like sex too, lol. So I quick grabbed a washcloth and just tried to clean my junk as best as I could before she got there. Eventually when we started hooking up she was all ready to go down on me, but I quick slipped it in before she could. She thought I was just really eager to duck her. I finally came with her and it was awesome. Neither of them know about that. I'm a guy, so I don't know if it's considered slutty, but I went on a date with 5 girls in the same day once. Had sex with only 2 of them though. Gave guys handjobs under the desk in high school. Successfully completed the coveted hat trick while I was in college. 3 females. 24 hours. All separate occasions. Threesome with 2 guys I had just met. The beach. Esther Cuba. Haha. Edit. I'm not gay BTW, I'm a girl. The username is Malcreo because after I made it Malcreo I forgot the password. I've never been on a date that didn't end in sex. Of course I've never been on one that ended in sex either. But still, I know, I'm already in my way out. I once posted on Ask Reddit about the sluttiest thing that people have ever done and then proceed to masturbate to every single comment. A few were quite difficult but in the end all were fat too. Edit. Hex Von Dooms was my favorite. She should call me. Not me, but witnessed it. My friend got a handjob on a crowded club dance floor that was pretty dark. Blew his load all over some other guy's back. The other dude didn't notice. The evil grin on my friend's face. Haunting. Pulled out my tits for the Baltimore Reddit meetup group photo. Duck throwaways. Whatever. Blew a guy while his roommate was in the room. I was still wearing a toga from the party, and I was actually very close to being sober. Edit. To add to the awkward aftermath, when I was walking back to my room, I noticed I lost one of my earrings in the events, so I had to keep bothering him and texting him to return it. So to all of you that are claiming it might be you, unless that happened, it wasn't you. Lol. Movies are too expensive for handjobs. Pay attention. Never made a throwaway before, or had an alt, but I think I needed to make one for this because people ducking love to slut shame. I used to love to give roadhead as a teenager and hope people driving by would see. Post a naked picture or 2 in my time. Had sex in a public park. Learned how to eat pussy on another girl while another guy instructed me. That was more situational hotness than actual hotness. Met. I guess I don't like V that much. I gave handjobs to my like 9th grade boyfriend in movie theaters like all the time. Always. Awkward teenage romance. Don't open your eyes. Don't look into his eyes. Don't look at his D ever. Yup, I was weird. A lot more guys are bisexual than you think if you just give them the chance to be open about it. And some of those guys are totally down with MFM 3 ways. Semicolon. You know, I'm pretty much down for anything. If I'm with a guy and he starts talking about his fantasies and he's not a complete sociopath about it, I'll just be like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds hot. And then we can do this and he will love whatever I say. Then we just bounce off each other's ideas until we get to a really weird place that neither of us thought we would go. My teacher was always really flirty with me and would ask me to do things that he thought I wouldn't notice, as I like your tits so do this, such as making me shake spray paint for longer than usual, melting the nails into place while he held them from the other side, boobs right in his face. I would make a point to wear extra cleavage on the days I had his class. Every time I work on an engine now I get horny thinking of him. He's unmarried, so I had zero guilt. I'd wear short plaid skirts and bend over his desk to grab something. One of the days he made me hold some huge piece of metal, which consisted of me wrapping my arms around it while he was getting dents out. My hands happened to be wedged up against his crotch, and I looked up at him and gave him my best six face and teased him until he completely ducked up the metal because he wasn't paying attention. Doing naughty things in public gets me off, and this was in the middle of class. Seeing him from time to time sends shivers down my spine, and I have an ultimate teacher fetish because of him. High school was the best 4 years of my life because of him. Intercourse in the missionary position for the purposes of procreation. Had sex with 5 guys off of CL casual encounters in a 24-hour period. None of them at the same time and at least an hour apart. God, sometimes being a gay man in a large city is wonderful. Brought 2 chicks home from the strip club. Had an amazing time. I am a female. I borrowed a girl's car after having sex with her to go have a sex with another girl. Not so slutty, but scumbag. Why? Don't judge me. Edit. You're all judging me. Waiting for, had sex with a random redditor. Crossing fingers. I did the dirty before I got married. The dirty means I had sex. I have a few to contribute. Lost my virginity in my mom's bed. 6 in a church parking lot in broad daylight. 6 in a parking lot in broad daylight with people walking on all sides of the car. 2 drunk guys convinced me, straight female, and my straight girlfriend to make out and get handsy, and then we went to the bedroom, got on the double bed, and I got with one guy while she got with the other, and we were like, pressed up against each other side by side. So, yeah. I held a girl's hand once. Hooked up with 3 different girls at a party during senior week. It was a good night. I clicked this link faster than links could be clicked. Slept with a guy after dating him for a month. Yep, I'm the anti-slut.